All right. Welcome, guys, to today's edition of our monthly webinar series that is talking results. This is a generation of doers. We are tired of complaining. We are tired of just talking, and we are tired of always blaming people. And then we got up one day and we said, "No, never again. We are not going to complain. We will start contributing." How do we contribute? We can only contribute by doing it. And so, guys, welcome. This is Generation of Doers. This is where doers, people who want to execute, who don't want to nag, who don't want to blame people for their misfortune, and who actually want to get in the weeds and start doing it. This is where we gather, right? So, welcome. Welcome, guys. Today's episode is going to be exciting. We just want to have sincere conversation about our own future, right? All the editions that we're going to be having is all sincere conversation, right? Sincere talk about our own destiny, about our own future, and even we want to talk about the future for our grandchildren to come, right? For people who are not yet born. If you are here, you're joining in from YouTube, I just want to say thank you for coming in. Thank you for tuning in. I'm excited that you are here. And I just cannot wait, right? I just cannot wait to see the future that we will build for ourselves. The previous edition that we had, it was exciting. We talked about financial planning. I had a great person here, Mr. Paul Kofi Mante. Paul is the MD for EcoBank EDC. We had a good time. And since our last discussion, I've had people call me from all over the place. People are beginning to take, actionable, they're beginning to do something for themselves because Paul talked about a lot of opportunities within, the investment space. And we got to do it. We cannot keep blaming people, like I said, for our future, for our destiny, etc. We got to do it. Today, it's even going to be better, right? Today is going to be even better, mega, as this series keep, climbing up that momentum. It's going to be information. The last time I said something, guys, I said, information is great, but particular information that is able to what? Transform your life, transform, the generations that will come after you. Hey, you don't want to miss some of these series and some of these sessions that we'll be having. Today, we're talking about agribusiness, right? Agriculture. We're talking about agribusiness. It's so exciting when I hear agri, and then the kind of things that people are doing in this industry. And just to let you guys know, agriculture is the first occupation of mankind, right? When God created the heavens and the earth, God, the first job that God gave to man was agriculture. We got to till the land, right? And there was wisdom in that. It's very profound. I know we have become so advanced. Technology is here. All the big stuff are here. And so we have become so advanced. And so we have sort of maybe shelved agriculture under the cupboards and then the beds and all those places for a while. But we are coming out, right? We are coming out in our numbers, and then we are going back to the first occupation of mankind, what God gave to us. God is in His wisdom, there's a lot of things in it, right? There's a lot of things in agriculture, but we've taken it for granted. But we have people that will be talking to us today that we are. Oh, I'm going to do it, and I know you're also going to do it. We're going to take a U-turn. We're going to flip the tables once again, and then we're going to go back. And so without much ado, I want to go ahead and then bring my resource people for today in. I'm episode in here. So guys, bear with me. Bear with me, guys, as I bring them in here. bear with me, guys, as I bring them in here. We want to have exciting conversation. Okay, all right. So this evening, morning, whatever time zone that you're in, I have Dr. Kwesi Apia Kisi here, and then I also have Mr. Ebenezer Champon, right? I have Mr. Ebenezer Champon also here. So I have Mr. Ebenezer Champon is the head of procurement at the Ministry of Agric and Food and Agriculture in Ghana. He's also a businessman, an entrepreneur. Um, he, he's also a businessman and an entrepreneur. He's also into agribusiness as well. I mean, if we were going to talk about agriculture, he is the best person for us to bring in so that he will share with us all the good stuff that is going on in Ghana and what the government is doing and what is also happening in the private sector space as well. He's going to do that for us. So, gentlemen, I just want to say welcome. Welcome, guys. Welcome. And
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before we get into our discussion, I just want to tell my audience that hey, if you're tuning in from Facebook, if you're tuning in on YouTube, keep your comments coming, keep your questions coming. The technology that we're using is able to grab every question that you guys will post out there. So it doesn't matter where you guys are watching us from, whether from Facebook or YouTube. Put your comment coming. When you put a question on there, when you comment on YouTube, I will get it, I will see it, and then I'll be careful to make sure that my resource people over here, they will get it and they will answer your questions for you. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. So why agriculture? Agriculture is not anything new. Like I said, it is the first occupation for mankind that God gave us. Unfortunately, we deserted it, we abandoned it, but we come back again. But we talk about agribusiness. We're talking about agribusiness, agriculture. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the same kind of things that we saw our fathers and our grandfathers do, or this is completely something different? Who wants to kick us off? Yeah.
Well, I would say that when we talk about agribusiness, agriculture, there's so many reasons to do agriculture. Number one, it is part of the basic needs of man. We cannot survive without food. So when we talk about agriculture, it's part of the basic needs of man. When we talk about agribusiness, I think like there's a common misconception. When we talk about agribusiness is more than just crops. Agriculture itself is more than just crops. You have aquaculture, you have horticulture, you have different aspects of agriculture. So when we talk about agribusiness, we're talking about the different industries that go into the production of goods. We talk about not just the production of goods, but anything from process and storage and distribution of farm commodities, farm equipment and supplies, and different farm operations. So that is actually what agribusiness is about. But like I said, agriculture is part of the basic needs of man. Man has to eat. Apart from that, from a financial standpoint, if you really look at it, agriculture has some of the best returns on investments. I mean, here in America, I'm in the finance space a lot. So when I'm making investments, here in America, the average investment, let's look at the stock market, for instance. The average investment in America has averaged about 10% return on investment. But when you look at something like agriculture, if you're getting 10%, in agribusiness, you did not do your job right. Agribusiness and agriculture is one of the industries that has a high return on investment. Apart from that, too, just look at the environment that we are in right now. A lot of people, I'm speaking to the diasporans especially, you know, especially those in America and even in Ghana. A lot of people are talking about, inflation, inflation, inflation. Agriculture is one of the few industries that actually keep up with a high inflation environment. So when you talk about agribusiness and agriculture, this industry is one of the industries that is so essential to man. So I will always say that if you're investing, whatever you're doing, never discount the power of agriculture.
Okay, okay. Never discount the power of agriculture. Mr. Echampo, I want you to come in now. Now, why agriculture? Why must everybody pay attention or close attention to agriculture?
All right, thank you very much. I also want to greet viewers. Sami, great having you, and I want to state that, like in your intro, you made mention that agri is the first occupation God created. And like Doug is mentioning, that everybody wants to eat. I remember I had a seminar and I was asked some guys that during the COVID that we were asked to stay in the house or in the home. How many of you decided to go and buy a new Jaguar? During the COVID, all of them were laughing. Everybody was going for one thing, food. So therefore, it is important for us to understand that that is a basic need of our existence on this earth. The moment we lose focus on that, that's where we begin to die. I remember the issue when you come back to Ghana, the issue of galamsey. I was telling people in Accra that we were sitting in Accra, people were destroying the forest and the water body. But by the time you could say Jack, we would not have anything to eat and we have to import water. So the point is that anything that had to do with the environment is very important. And you know, our forefathers, some of them entered into the agricultural space and took it as hobby. But I want to mention that some of our forefathers were very business oriented. Those of you who have been in Kumasi, you realize that when you go to Ashtown, New Tafo, all the buildings that you see around were built by big time farmers, those who had cocoa farms in other villages. They were able to get money to put up those properties in those locations. So agri is very good venture, and in the essence, when we mention of agribusiness, it's all about the fact that you enter into the space with the business principle, applying all the relevant business principle in the agriculture. That's why we talk of agribusiness. And like Kwesi mentioned, we have several fields in the agricultural space. But the truth is that you need to look at the value chain. When you're talking about the agribusiness, you look at the value chain from the field to the table. Any activity that takes place within that space is all part of the agribusiness value chain that any person can enter. You don't necessarily have to be at the production level. You can be at the packaging level. You can be at the post-harvest level. You can be at the branding level. You can be at the transport level. So at that space, that value chain has enormous opportunity for everybody.
Right. We'll become, you know, we'll be getting into the value chain. We'll talk about the entire ecosystem that we have in there. I'll be getting into that. But, you know, for the past couple of weeks, I've been reading, I've been researching, I've been trying to align myself with, you know, what is going on globally, what is happening in our emerging markets like Africa, and then even coming down to the sub-Saharan Africa, and that is West Africa, what is happening. And the numbers are staggering, right? The importation of food, when you put a value on some of this stuff that, you know, even Ghana, we import, some of them goes as high as billions of dollars, several hundred millions of dollars, right? Nigeria, they do the same thing. They import stuff, hundreds of millions of dollars. And the kind of thing that they import are simple crops that can be grown in our backyards everywhere. So I'm thinking about this. I'm like, okay, if we can get into this and the numbers here looks that good, then why is it that we don't have the appetite? So I want us to start from here. Why is it that we don't have the appetite? What happened that nobody wants to go into agric? Is it because of the kind of farming that we were exposed to, or what happened that we have to import all this food and they costing us hundreds of millions of dollars? Why?
We're in the billions, not in the millions, the billions.
We're in the billions, yes. We're in the billions, right?
Let me throw in, even in Ghana, we import poultry
Right.
every year, not less than $300 million. When it comes to rice, we are hovering around $500 million. And the other commodities you can mention. But the issue is that, number one, is the lack of knowledge. And the scripture points it clearly: for lack of knowledge, my people perish. And unfortunately, we really don't appreciate what we have around us. The issue, I'm even talking about the environment. I've mentioned the knowledge bit, but I'm talking also about the environment within which we operate. We really don't appreciate what we have. So therefore, always we think that what is coming from outside is better than what we have in here. And that is one of the major problems we have. I've talked about knowledge because we don't have knowledge about what is going on. And number two, I've mentioned about the environment. We don't appreciate what we have within our environment. And the third thing has been the character. Character has become major issue. So when you blend these three, lack of knowledge, not appreciating the environment where we have here, and then the character to even persist, the character to wait, the character of hard work, then it becomes like everybody wants a finished product. And more especially our businessmen in the country want to import something that they can get their profit quickly. And by the power of the media, they package it, and unfortunately, most of us are consumers. We don't ask questions on what we are buying. We just listen to what has been packaged to us, and then we end up buying those stuff. But the truth is that if we then retrace our steps and begin to do it other way around, I tell you, Ghana, and for that matter, West Africa, has the capacity to feed the whole world because the environment is good. And the other thing, Sami, is that even those who are in farming and they are not making it attractive for others to come in for two reasons. For two reasons. Number one major reason is that some of them is intentional. For Ghanaians, when you are eating, you don't want to talk. So they don't want you to know that the place is sweet. So they will create the impression that nothing good is here. So that they alone will then take advantage of the environment in which they are benefiting from. Number two had to do with like you mentioned, the method we are using. Instead of those who are going to school coming up with a new method of doing new things, our farmers are continuously using old method of farming. And if you're a young man and you are there, you see it as a form of punishment, using cutlasses and hoes to do some of these, and then you don't see the potential therein. So those are the other things that I think I asked my brother to continue from there.
Well, I definitely agree. I would also say that the infrastructure that is present also presents some challenges. As Ebenezer was saying, people go to school and you look at the technology. I will say that it's not that people go to school and they're still using the same technology. I say that people don't upgrade their knowledge of what's going on in agriculture. So when people go to school, for instance, they learn what's in the book. But the one thing about agriculture is that it's dynamic. Agriculture, there's new technologies coming up. So the infrastructure that's in place right now, especially even in Ghana, it doesn't necessarily sometimes make it whereby people can necessarily get the information and that they can thrive. And I also think that we have had the wrong mindset of agriculture. The wrong mindset of agriculture is that for a long time, agriculture was seen as a poverty career, as a poverty, like everybody just goes into farming because that's what you were supposed to do. So a lot of people have tied agriculture to mean poverty. But I will never forget this one thing. I work here in the United States, and I work in the poorest state in America, which is Mississippi. I will never forget that when I was going to Mississippi, my boss told me one thing. He said, "Man, that area is so rich. You're going to such a rich area." And I was like, "Wait a minute, hold up. There?" And he was like, "Yeah." And that's what he was telling me about in Mississippi, how that area, like, even though like people will say that it's so poor, that area, you go there and you see, like, you will literally go there as you're driving. Where I work at, where I was driving to, I would see farmers who had $1 million homes, $2 million homes. And I was like, how can you people say that this place is poor? But these people have $1 million homes. And that's when I realized in being in agriculture that, man, there are so many benefits of agriculture. But the mindset that agriculture is a poverty profession is what has really kept a lot of people from wanting to venture into it.
All right. Thank you, Kwesi. I just want to go ahead and tell our audience that, hey, keep your questions coming in, whether you're tuning in on Facebook or on YouTube. If you have a question, I've seen some of the questions coming in, land acquisition. We have all those questions lined up already, and I'll be getting into it. I see some of the questions already coming in from YouTube. Whatever that you want to ask, go ahead, put in a comment, and I will get to it. I just want to reintroduce my my resource individuals again for those of you who just tune in. So I have Dr. Kwesi Appiah. Dr. Kwesi Appiah is a pharmacist by profession, and he practices his profession in America, and he's also an agripreneur, right? He's also very, he get excited and get thick anytime he hear anything about agriculture and all the excitements and all the things that's going on in the industry. I also have today Mr. Ebenezer Champon as well. Minister Ebenezer Champon is the head of procurement at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture here in Ghana. He is also an investor, an entrepreneur, agripreneur, and anything that you can think about. We were talking about a lot of things, tonight. So I have one question as we go along in this area. So one of the things I'm trying to understand is that if, the government sees all these opportunities out there, if the government is aware that, we are importing, rice, we are importing, chicken and all this poultry product, running into billions of dollars, etc. Why is the government not, positioning itself and then creating the enabling environment and the awareness? And as a matter of fact, how about even incentives, to young people that are coming out of school? We have almost about 290 from the last data that I checked in with the National Service Secretariat. I had some conversation with them a couple of months ago. We had almost getting to 300,000 people that we are churning out of schools now. And now the fundamental problem is work, unemployment, up to a point where we have unemployment association. That means they are even beginning to form a group. Now, there's a group and a whole community for unemployment. So, I want us to get into this. What is the government doing, right? What is the government doing in this space to sort of, as an incentive for young people to, relook, go back into the villages and take hold of all these lands that are there and start doing something in the agribusiness or the agricultural space? Mr. Champon, you are directly at the ministry, and so I want you to take this and share with us what the government is doing and what are the incentives that is there. So people who are in Ghana, and even for people who are in the diaspora tuning in, what is available for us?
Thank you very much. Samuel, let me also make a statement that at the moment I'm not speaking on behalf of the ministry. I'm speaking on my own capacity. In fact, let me mention that now, I was a consultant to the ministry, so I have now stepped back a bit at the moment. So I'm a private man as a procurement consultant. Having worked with the ministry, I know the policies there. So I'm speaking based on information that is available to the public, which, like you mentioned, the question is, what is the government doing about the enormous challenge and in the agri sector, the importation and the like? The bit we have in Ghana is that sometimes we think that is the government supposed to do everything for us. And I've been telling people that the role and the responsibility of the government is to come up with a policy. And the responsibility of the citizenry is to take advantage of the policy.
Amen.
Where at the moment, government has implemented a program called Planting for Food and Jobs. And I think let me use this opportunity to explain to our colleagues, those who are listening to us and all viewing us. Under this project, the Planting for Food and Jobs, the mandate or the plan or the policy is geared towards cereals, that is maize, rice, soya, millet, sorghum, that before then we were importing most of them. And what was the strategy? The strategy was that we realized that farmers were not using improved seeds. You remember, years ago, you go to the farm, the farmer will select the best crop, and then they would try and hide it somewhere. During the planting season, they would then use the same crop that they had harvested. And for example, within 1 acre for maize, the yields level was very low. So government decided under the Planting for Food and Jobs is to introduce improved seeds, maize, rice, and other planting materials. So government, to the extent that when we started, we gave these improved seeds to farmers for free. Another area was fertilizer, the usage of fertilizer. Because fertilizer was expensive, farmers were not applying the required quantities and the right type of fertilizer on their fields. So government then came up with what we call the fertilizer subsidy policy within the Planting for Food and Jobs. And interestingly, within the same 1 acre where the farmers were getting 8 bags, that year that we introduced Planting for Food and Jobs, those who took the policy seriously were getting 20 bags, 30 bags. In some instances, we were getting 40 bags within the acre that they had been planting years ago. So that is why, if you remember, around 2018, 2019, 2020, we were not giving permit for people to import maize. So we were able to become self-sufficient in maize production until COVID came in and other challenges came in to try to erode the benefits that we've gained over the period. However, within the Planting for Food and Jobs, the truth is that farmers who partook this policy have really seen production increase, which has converted into money in a way. You know that there's an interesting thing happening in Ghana as we speak. During the harvesting period, you see people coming from Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and Mali to buy the produce from farmers. And then some of them will go and hoard it, maybe have some warehouse. It's part of the business strategy. They will then put it there and wait for a period and bring those same produce back and sell it at a very high price. Let me give you a typical example. Last year, around August, September, October, a bag, 50 kg bag of maize was around 50 Ghana cedis, around Techiman and the like. By December, it went to 150 Ghana cedis. By December, within 3 months. Look at the jump in that. So for the businessman who within the value chain, it's a good business for the person because he bought it, and then he was able to store. And then when it was limited on the market, the demand was high, the supply was low, then it helped the businessman to get some money. That's one aspect of the planting for food and job. Within the same category, in fact, if we come to the ministry, we have youth in agriculture program where youth who are interested to do agriculture, we support them. There's one project we did in Tamale, in the northern part of Ghana, Upper East, Upper West, under African Development Bank funded project, where we supported a lot of commercial farmers in setting them up to grow maize, rice, soya. In fact, the intent and the purpose was that we wanted to be so self-sufficient in maize and soya so that we can feed the poultry industry. Unlike US, where I think most of these maize are used in the poultry industry, when you come to Ghana, there's a competition between Banku, those we enjoy Banku and the poultry feed. So that sometimes it's the prices will go up to affect the poultry industry. So that is one aspect. I don't know whether I have to continue to give other policies that should I continue or I can hang in here.
Yes, we'll come to the other policies. We'll talk about the other policies very soon. And for those of you that are watching, I know a lot of you are interested in we getting more practical, and that is what I want us to be able to look at as well. If, for instance, you take 1 acre and you do maize, etc., what's going to be the yields? I know you guys are interested in that, and I'm also equally interested in that. But let me come to Dr. Kwesi Appiah, a little bit here. He's a trained pharmacist, live in America, and then coming back to Ghana to get into agribusiness. Doc, I want to get into you. What got you going into farming? What was the motivation here? I mean, in Ghana, when you get into Ghana, people will even advise you to go into other domains or other industries, etc. Why were you adamant and said that I'm going to go into farming? What got you going into this industry?
Well, I would say for me, I'm
asking you this so that our brothers in the diaspora who wants to come to Ghana, they will learn something from this.
My reason for going into agriculture is different from most people. I honestly did not know too much about agriculture before I went in. My father had a large piece of land. And when he died, the land was just sitting there. And I was like, well, if this thing is just sitting there, let me go ahead and work it. So when I went into agriculture, I didn't know anything. I actually went in there not knowing a single thing about agriculture. And man, not knowing a single thing about agriculture, it was a struggle. But the moment I got in, and I actually invested. The thing about it is that here in America, we work. So if we are working for our money, you want to make sure that your money works. So when I actually got into agriculture and I learned more about agribusiness, the opportunities, you talk about incentives. Ebenezer was talking about the incentives for MOFA, like Planting for Food and Job. I love the incentives that the government gave in terms of tax benefits. Because anybody who lives in America knows that the one thing that we say that the sureties of life are death and taxes. So when I began to learn about agribusiness, learn about the incentives of agribusiness, look at it from what I could make, literally you can go and invest $6,000 in 3 months. Instead of having $6,000 back, you can have $20,000 back. There's not that many jobs in America that you can even work and make $14,000 in 3 months. I was like, heck, I got to stay in agriculture. So when I got into agriculture and I learned about the value chain, I learned about the opportunities. I was like, man, this is a gold mine. And that's really what has kept me in it. And apart from that, too, I always say that another thing that kept me in it has been purpose. You know, before getting into agribusiness, I used to walk around and I would be seeing, like, I would be getting a vision of certain things to do. And like, I never understood, like, God, why did I choose pharmacy? But it seems that I'm more passionate about other stuff. Like, you know, I love the herbal medication, which applies to um, pharmacy. I love, you know, I love looking at the different things that were there. So I was like, man, you know, when I got into agribusiness, and I was like, this was what the Lord was literally showing me 3 and 4 years ago. So I realized that this was my purpose. This was what I was made for. And I literally said, you know what? I'm going to do agribusiness. I'm going to stick to it. There are some challenges. Like, I can honestly tell you, the first year, not going in prepared, I lost money. But I had a good accountant who told me
Yeah.
one thing that I have never forgotten. He said, in agriculture, you can write off your losses for 5 years. And I said, you know what? I'm going to write off that loss. So really being passionate about agriculture, like, is something that I do not give up. And I want to go back to what Sammy said at the beginning, talking about agriculture was the first occupation of man. It's not just that it was just the first occupation of man. If you actually read the Bible, you know, on the flyer, it says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. The first man that is recorded to have left an inheritance is Abraham.
Yeah.
And the inheritance that God promised him was not faith, it was not anything, it was land. Out
Yeah.
of that land, it has been a blessing to his children's children, and it continues to be a blessing. So when I got into agriculture and I said, you know what, I'm going to actually be into that, I realized that what my father left for his children, like, a lot of my family members are like, oh, why are you still doing this? I'm like, hey, I see this being a blessing, not just for me. Because I tell people this, there's a difference between wealth and riches. When my father died, he left me wealth. But what he left me in terms of wealth was just land. A rich man uses his resources in one generation. A wealthy man leaves resources that last for generations to come. And being in agriculture and agribusiness, I see that what I am doing right now, it's not just going to bless me, but it's going to bless my great grandchildren. So that's what has really made me stick to agriculture.
Okay. All right. Now let's get into the real thing. If Ben, you want to come in?
No, I like Kwesi's presentation. It's so touching.
Yeah.
Somebody made a statement that if you have not lost 1,000, don't think of getting 10,000. And if you have not lost 10,000, never think of getting 100,000. So if you are listening to us, never be afraid of losing when it comes to agriculture. But we'll come to the nitty gritty. Thank you. Yeah.
Right. Hey, welcome, guys. If you're tuning in on Facebook, on YouTube, etc., on any other channel, wherever you're watching this from, keep your comments coming. Keep your questions coming in. We'll surely take care of your questions and get some answers for you as well. Today, we're talking about agribusiness, right? Agribusiness is what we're discussing today. A lot of potential, staggering data that I've been reading, I've been discovering for the past couple of weeks when we talk about agriculture. And a lot of times when we talk about agriculture, especially for us, we only think about crops, right? But our agribusiness is huge, very diverse. The crops, the animal rearing, fisheries, there's so many, and the value chain. There's a whole ecosystem, right? And we have not even scratched the surface of the ecosystem yet. We just started. The ecosystem is so huge, and I know this is not just going to be the first conversation about this. We're going to keep at it. We're going to talk about the entire ecosystem, and the opportunities that are in that ecosystem. Now, let's talk about some real things here. Is farming cheap, right? Who can afford it? Who can get into it? Do I need to be frugal, save a lot of money in my pocket, eat a lot of Gary and Gary Soki so that I can save money before I can get into agriculture? Do I need hundred thousands of acres, 10,000s of acres? Is farming cheap? Is farming for everybody? Who can get into it? Who can afford it?
All right. The truth is that everybody has his own starting point.
Yes.
And that must become a guiding principle for all of us. And everybody has his own capacity to risk in terms of making investment. So therefore, somebody when he lose 1,000 cedis, it's like as if he has lost about $1 million. So with this understanding, I want to take us through the basics. We have several fields within the agricultural space. And depending on what you're looking for, and depending on the resource you have, then you'll be able to know where you have to start. And what we're doing right now is to let us know the areas available for you to take your own decision along the value chain. I have mentioned that agribusiness is about the value chain, knowing where you fit best to play that specific role that will benefit you. So when you want to go to the field, the crop, let me use the crop as an example. Within the crop space, we have crops that when you cultivate, within 3 months, you are getting a return, like the vegetables, which you don't need an acre to start. In fact, if you have just a plot of a vegetable farm, even if you even have a garden, you can still get something out of it. So when it comes to the vegetable, 1 acre is huge for you to use as the starting point. Then we also have the cereals, the maize, the rice, the other stuff, the soya. And within that space, you, depending on your resource and your expertise and your availability, you see, absentee farming, if you are farming and you are not there, consider it as you haven't started at all. I did mention about the issue of character, and it's key. The character bit of it is very key. So if you want to enter into cultivation of rice, maize, and the like, per acre, technically, assuming you have land, 1 acre, you then have to do the calculation to know the kind of investment. And I think for maize, you wouldn't spend more than 3,000 Ghana cedis per acre to cultivate, which you will get a returns within 3 months or between 3 and 4 months. Then we have that is the cereals, the rice, the soya. But within the cereal category, the high yielding one, the most value product is the soya. Even though the soya, 1 acre of soya, you won't get too much compared to maybe maize. However, a bag of soya is higher than for maize and the rice. So you also look at, okay, within this space, which one should I invest? Maize, soya, rice, sorghum, or millet? And let me tell you, you don't just jump into agriculture. You need to look at market. The first thing for you to enter into any venture as far as agriculture is concerned is the market. Where is your market? The moment you identify your market, then you are in business. Don't enter through emotions. Oh yes, there's money in it, so just you finish and nobody will come and buy. Especially for vegetables, where within few days, you see that it's perishing. You'll be hot. You sell it at a loss. So the point I want to advise that you need to look at your market. If I have to continue, then go. Okay, because you want to come in.
Oh no, I was saying that you'll sell it to me so that I can feed it.
Right. So you see, it's interesting. Some of them, the risk at the crop, the production level is higher. There's a risk there. When the rain pattern is not good, you suffer diseases and other bushfire. So many risks are there. If you are risk averse, you can be so strategic and become input. You can be an input dealer selling fertilizers, seeds, pesticides, and fungus, whatever chemicals or organic product. That's another business there you can venture. Or you can also be off taker. You buy after the farmer has harvested. You have your own warehouse. You buy the grains and you store to wait for a better time to sell to the market. That's another huge opportunity over there. In fact, in some places we have huge post-harvest losses to the extent that we can get about 30% post-harvest losses, which is huge. But you can become a post-harvest expert that you want to target, bring in solution, because if you're able to save 30% of food that can go bad, it's huge. So if you have solution over there, you can target, that can become your specialty where you become post-harvest expert. If you have money, instead of putting the money in the bank, you can strategically buy these food, maize, rice, and then put it in a warehouse, dry them, give yourself 2-3 months. I tell you, you can double that money. There is another level where you can be a processor. As we speak now, we still send grains, maize to Nikadika. Those of you with the mailing side. But then you can come and set up a mailing plant whereby you mail these grains for the cooking, those women, and packaging them nicely, 5 kg, 2 kg, instead of them going to the market with raw stuff. You can come and have your own brand where you have maize that has been packaged, mailed nicely for the supermarket and even for the market women, so that it's so presentable. That's another huge opportunity, very huge opportunity over there. I just have taken you through even the crop production. When you go to the animal production, the livestock industry, cattle, sheep, goat, pig, poultry, so much. God has blessed us so much that in fact, our problems that we have been too blessed for us to take action. It's so enormous that sometimes you ask yourself, what? In fact, just recently somebody mentioned about ginger, and Sammy, because ginger is I don't know, it's so serious. That's you invest, let's say about maximum, let's say 10,000. If you have the land, 10,000 cedis on an acre land, you do it properly, and I can assure you, in 6 months you are getting 50,000 cedis in 6 months for ginger. It is just that. Even this one is the local one. Now, if you get an export opportunity, you can double this. You can even triple this. Things that we are sharing with you are real. These are not hearsay. They are real. And like I mentioned, at the moment, the poultry farmers are struggling because of the cost of feed. It's becoming difficult for them to get the inputs, so they are struggling. However, others are also making it, because especially those who it's important that if you want to be a farmer, you diversify. Don't just look at the seasons and the period and look at which, for example, if you're a vegetable farmer, You don't cultivate when all other farmers are cultivating tomatoes. What will happen is that the market, the demand will be less and the supply will it will be more than the demand, and then you don't get good price. So you always have to plan and produce and meet the market where the demand is so high. So you need to plan all these things. When you're able to do that, you realize that you have brought science, or let's say business, into agriculture. That's the business aspect. That's we're talking about agribusiness. Because our forefathers or our mothers, they do it as hobby, so they don't even consider so many factors. They just go in and everybody is doing the same thing, and it ends that they overproduce and they don't get the relevant market for it. So I have mentioned about them. These are the crops that you can do within 3 months. When we move to another aspect, this one is dear to me. We have depended on cocoa for years. Now, government is saying that in the next 5-7 years, we want to promote tree crops. We have 6 tree crops government wants to promote. And listen, those who are there, listen carefully. We want to promote oil palm, coconut, rubber, cashew, mango, and shea nut. And listen carefully. The vision is that in the next 5-7 years, each of these crops is going to earn $2 billion. Each of these crops. So the 6 crops in the next 5-7 years is going to be $12 billion. And listen to me carefully. The question you have to ask yourself is that what percentage of these $12 billion do you want to get in the next 5-7 years? And here is the deal. The opportunity, the land is available. The inputs are available. What we need is for you to take advantage of this. Sammy wanted to look at the numbers. Let me use coconut as a clear case, typical example.
Yeah, please do that for us.
If you want to be so practical, assuming you want to grow coconut on an acre, 1 acre land. Ghana, we don't sell the land, we lease. And you can get it for 50 years. And the max, depending on the location, the price for that lease is between 2,500 to, let's say, 3,000. If it's so close, then the price will be more. But I would suggest that you go to the hinterland to get it at a good price, around 3,000 Ghana cedis per acre, which you are leasing for 50 years. If you want to develop that 1 acre land, you will need about 2,000 Ghana cedis, the land development. That adds up to, let's say, 5,000 Ghana cedis. The inputs, that is the seedlings that you need. There are 2 varieties that is in the market. There's one that you grow only 70 trees per acre. There's another one that you can cultivate 140 trees per acre. And I want to use the 140 trees per acre as my calculation. Look, the land size and the land preparation cost remains the same. The difference is the planting material. So if you are going to use the one you can plant only 70, you spend little amount compared to the one you're going to use 170. For example, the one a seedling for the one you grow 70 trees per acre is about 12 Ghana cedis. But then the one with the 140 trees, a seedling is about 13, 15, 16 Ghana cedis. When you plant this, the good news is that even within that 1 acre, when you plant for the first year, what you can do is that you can also plant plantain on the same land, or you can grow maize on the same land. Whilst you are cultivating the 1 acre, within 3 months, if you have planted maize, you can harvest maize for one or two things. And then maybe for plantain, I think 8 months or so, you can get your plantain. It will take you between 3 and 4 years to get the coconut ready for the market. And normally when I'm giving such figures out, I want to be so conservative. So in actual sense, for the next 3-4 years, 1 acre, you will need about 15,000 Ghana cedis for 4 years, between 3-4 years. But if you're able to plant the maize and then the plantain, it will bring some kind of revenue within the period. So you really will not spend 15,000 because you will be able to sell the maize or the plantain to get some revenue to help you to continue. When it is the 5th year where you are harvesting, 4th year you get something, but I want to use the 5th year, you will be able to earn on an acre of coconut. I want to be so conservative as far as this is concerned. You can earn every year after the 5 years 50,000 Ghana cedis, 1 acre for coconut every year, conservative. 50,000 for the next minimum 25 years. For the next 25 years. So a farm where you have spent 15,000 cedis, you end up earning 50,000 cedis every year after 5 years. Technically, assuming after the 5 years, every year you spend, let's say 10,000, let's use it. Let's say you are earning 40,000 for 25 years. I don't have my calculator. Okay, I have one here. The figure for 25 years, what will happen? You end up earning 40,000 times 25 years. Because if you have your calculator, you can help me on that.
I mean, it is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. I just did for the
1 million cedis.
and it's not a million cedis that we have to look at. We have to look at inflation. So the price is actually going to go up.
Yeah, that's the point. The price is going to go up.
On top of that, too, where I would come in is one. This is not to take away from you what you're saying, but there's also like regenerative agriculture. So like you are getting the coconuts, but I can actually use the coconuts in an aspect of agriculture called hydroponics. Because right now, they're actually using the coconut husk to actually grow vegetables. So I'm not actually wasting the coconuts. If I was to be doing what you're doing, apart from just selling it to the market and making money from it, and also doing different products, I can reuse it into another enterprise and have less amount of and still get something else out of it. So that's why we're saying that there's so many benefits to agriculture that a lot of people are not seeing, because there's not going to be more land. God has not given us more land, but God has made it in such a way that we don't have to necessarily waste what we have. I mean, I was literally watching last year when they were talking about in California, with climate change and how things are going. Now they're actually growing their vegetables, organic vegetables, through coconut husk. And that's an opportunity that we can take advantage of in Ghana and get into the organic vegetable market, which is a rising market that we don't need to take for granted. So that's just adding to what you were saying.
Amazing.
Agriculture really be the whole day.
Amazing. You see, even the value that I use to do the calculation, I just use 1 cedi per coconut, the fruit, the coconut. That was the value I use. At the moment as we speak, at the farm gate, a coconut is selling for 1 cedi 50 pesos. I just use 1 cedi. That's why I said I decided not to make it so big. I was given a conservative figure. And these are the ones that we are consuming. But if you have foreign market, some of you will tell me, how much are you buying your coconut in America? 1 coconut.
Oh,
tell me.
ridiculous, amount. It's at a ridiculous. Like if you go into the stores like Walmart, Sam's Club, and you just pick up just a package, a bottle of juice of coconut. It's almost like $12, $15. Just for a small, it's a tiny bottle that they have in there. So I mean, it is selling for a ridiculous amount. But
coconut water is actually more expensive than Coca-Cola. That's what we need to realize. Coconut water is actually more expensive than Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I know you're trying to be conservative here. I've actually seen coconut, numbers that I was like, my eyes were popping out. I'm like, what? So just 1 acre, right? So just 1 acre. And if you're going to, maybe let's say the cost of the farm operation for maybe 3 years, the cost of the farm operation for 3 years could be somewhere around maybe 6,150. And that includes the plowing of the land, which is about 250 Ghana cedis, the planting, which is about 200 Ghana cedis, the cost of the seedlings. I know you talk about the dwarf type, coconut. The cost of the seedlings, which is about 140, seedlings per that, which is 15 cedis. What that you mentioned, 15 Ghana cedis, and that will be about 2,100 Ghana cedis. And then the weeding, you that's the cost, part of the cost of operation as well. Weeding, and then fertilization. Fertilization is 100 Ghana cedis. You're going to do it 6 times. That is 600 Ghana cedis. Insect control. Insect control alone is about 100 Ghana cedis times 6 as well, another 600. So the total cost, for operation for the next 3 years, if you start just on 1 acre, it's going to be 6,150 Ghana cedis. Now, I know Ebenezer was trying to be conservative here, but the numbers is really staggering. So that 1 acre of land, 1 acre of land for that 6,150 Ghana cedis. When we come to the yields, right? The yields. Now, every tree of produce is going to be about 150 nuts. And you're going to get about 140 times 150, which is almost about 21,000 nuts that you will get out of that, right? Now, when you put that together, he was just being conservative, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to make about 84,000 times 2 Ghana cedis per every coconut. And this is from the farm gate. This is not even you trying to maybe put more value on it. This is at the farm gate, right? Farm gate, they come to your farm, they pick it up. That's how much you're giving to them, right? But I know if you were bringing it to the market yourself, or if you were exporting it or doing anything with it, it's going to be more than that. But even for the 1 acre, that we are talking about here, right? Just for the 1 acre, you are sure of making almost about 161,850 Ghana cedis from just the 1 acre. And of course, just like he said, we don't want to do farming like our parents, how they did it. We want to do farming by going to it, by being data driven. And so we're not just going to go into farming and say, hey, by emotions. We don't want to be doing this, emotionally. Hey, people will say there's profit in it. There's income, there's money to be. Yeah, there's income in it, but we want to make sure that we get the data right. And so we're going with this. That we already have some projected numbers, how much this is going to cost us every year. This is the cost of operation. This is how much we're going to spend on this, right? And the numbers, guys,
I want to speak to the diasporans too, in this aspect. Just looking at the coconuts, looking at the coconut example, somebody asked a question. I saw it. It was talking about like, what are the challenges that you can face as a diasporan? When you know certain things, like me, oftentimes a lot of people come and ask me, because I am a diasporan. I am a diasporan who actually does farm in Ghana, and one of the things that, like, sometimes when people come to me and they say, "What do I suggest doing?" I always tell them that get involved in the value chain. Don't just go and I would say get involved in the value chain first and foremost. Number 2, I always tell people, like, look at where you are at. So for instance, one of the challenges that I have is being the CEO. I have to know everything about my farm operations. I was doing the 3 months, the 6 months, and I work here in America 125 hours. So imagine working 125 hours every 2 weeks. You also have to know what everything is going. So like sometimes somebody will come in here and be like, oh, I actually had a friend who came to me one time and said, oh, Charlie, I want to go and do maize farming. I said, Master, don't venture. And he was like, why are you saying that don't venture? I said, listen, you want to do a kind of investment that maybe it can be passive. You want to do an investment that maybe you can time and things of that sort. So when he came to me, I said, Master, look at it this way. Do tree crops. I literally suggested nothing but tree crops to him. So I remember like when I told him to do the tree crops, he was telling me, oh, they said I need to buy a truck. I need to do all this stuff. I said, no, no, no. I actually told him why he needed to do the tree crop because I was like, it is guaranteed residual income, which if you are an investor, you want to have residual passive income. And apart from that, you can find a way to time the harvest. So when people are trying to come in here and say, oh, like you can literally come and say, Charlie, I need a vacation. I need to go, like, I know that my trees are going to be ready at this time. I know that this is when I'm going to have my harvest. You can literally say, I'm taking a vacation and then I'm going to go and see my harvest so that I'm not getting the wrong numbers. Because if you don't get the right people with the right character, you will definitely find yourself having losses. And that's one of the things that you want to do. I always tell anybody in the diaspora that if you want to go into farming, first and foremost, go into the value chain if you can. But if you want to go straight into just the basis of farming, do nothing but tree crops. That is going to be where you will make a lot of money. And the benefits of tree crops are, they far outweigh the benefits of maize farming and these 3 months farming, the cash crop farming. I'm telling you, diasporans focus on tree crops. There are so many opportunities there. There are so many opportunities.
Okay, so when you say tree crops, what does that mean? This term seems very foreign to a whole lot of my audience here. Tree crops, what does that mean?
When I say tree crops, it's what Ebenezer said. Coconuts, it's cashews, it's mango,
coconut, okay.
It's rubber. Like I was talking to you, Sam, the other day. I said I was watching the news and everybody talking about how the shelves at Walmart and all these stores are empty. And when I was actually looking at making an investigation of it, they were saying that one of the reasons why the shelves are empty is because people, like, they were talking about how the farmers actually produce rubber. Like the rubber is what they use for the plastic, and they were like, most of the rubbers came from Thailand. So that most of the rubber trees came from Thailand. They're talking about how a lot of the Thailand farmers have left farming, and because of that, there's such a shortage. And I was saying to myself that, Charlie, if I had known what I knew today, I would have done it and done. I would have literally gone there and done the rubber, because rubber, like when we're talking about agriculture, the worst mistake that we make is that agriculture is just food. It is not. It's industries. So like you literally have industries that are suffering because people are not in there. Like even like we talk about right now, we're having an energy crisis. If you have land, you can literally be doing a solar farm and helping to generate energy. That's what Tesla is doing. They are running multiple solar farms. So like literally, I tell people that the opportunities in agriculture is endless. But like Ebenezer said, you have to look at yourself. You have to look at your limitations. You have to look at the opportunities that you have. Like if you don't live in Ghana, me personally, I know a lot about Ghana. I take trips to Ghana just to go. Like I can go to my farm and they would think that I'm coming there to come and spend a week or 2 weeks. I spend 2 days. People are like, why do you spend 2 days? I'm like, I know what I need to know. So when I come back, I blast the people that I need to blast and I put the things into place. I don't need a week to come and know what's wrong because I know Ghana, I know the system. But if you're a diasporan and you don't know the system and you make the wrong mistake, people will easily take advantage of you. So that's why we're telling people, look at these tree crops, look at the opportunities, look at the value chain. I know a young lady, this thing hurt me so much. There was a young lady that wanted to, she's involved in the health industry. And she wanted to, she talked about baobab and the benefits of baobab. She's a northerner. And she wanted to make baobab powder. Literally, for her to make the baobab powder, she had somebody she would buy the baobab powder, the baobab, and she would send it to China to have them convert it into powder and then come and then send it here to Canada and in America to make to make money. So she was telling me how she was making off of an investment of like her profit. And I was like, that is just so wrong. What would have happened if a diasporan had come in there, bought the machinery, and literally was producing the powder for you? When we're talking about agriculture and that's why when people tell me, why do you do agriculture? Here in America, it is projected that next year we're going to be having a recession, right? Do you know one of the most recession-proof industry is agriculture?
Right.
And you also know one of the most apart from agriculture, do you know what is also recession-proof? Cosmetics. The thing that I have learned is that no matter what, no matter how bad it is, we want to look good because looking good feels good. Do you know one of the greatest opportunity in cosmetics is shea butter? That is one of the best exports that is out there. Like here in America, you have people who are coming in and like I have literally had people where I work at begging me to bring shea butter to there. And I work in the poorest part of America. So looking that there's going to be a recession coming up, I know that one of the things that I have to do is to start targeting the opportunities that are available in agriculture. So I'm looking at the shea butter. I'm looking about how I can transform it. Like as I'm speaking to the diasporans right now, one of the newest products that has come out here in America that has gotten such a huge name. Do you know that product is actually made from agricultural products in Ghana? Like it is the number one selling product among African Americans. And they literally get the shea butter from Ghana. And they are making millions and millions of dollars. So when we're saying that the opportunities are endless, it really is endless, but you have to find what works for you, what works, like what your situation is. If you don't have the money to do commercial, start small. I had somebody who wanted to do snail farming because I'm into snail farming. And the kind of snail farming that I do, it's a little bit capital intensive. It's about $5,000-$7,000. And she just said, "Oh, this money it's a lot of money." I said, "Did God give you a veranda?" She said, "Yes." I said, "You can get into snail farming. You don't need that much money. You have a veranda. Start where you are." Somebody was like, "Oh, I want to do catfish farming." I said, "I see where you park your cars. You can park your cars outside and get a tarpaulin. Get into the catfish industry." You can literally make money in agriculture with very minimal amount of money, but you just have to find the right project. Because what a lot of people do, and this is one thing a lot of people don't understand, agriculture is about learning. And it was said earlier, if you're not willing to lose 10,000, then you're not willing to make 100,000. One of the things that oftentimes I hear is people talking agriculture is failure. But what people don't understand is that failure is one of your greatest assets, because failure means first attempt in learning. So if you fail at something, if somebody comes and tells you that they went into agriculture and everything went well, they're lying to you. They don't wish well for you. They don't wish well for you at all. Nobody goes into agriculture and makes a bunch of money. And the thing about agriculture is starting low and then scaling up. My manager knows that I hate it. Whenever he comes and brings me an idea, and then he'll be like, I'll be like, oh, let's do 20 acres. He'll be like, Charlie, do 5. I'm like, I've run the numbers. Let's do 20. He's like, no, do 5. He said, I'm like, what do you want me to do 5? He says, you do 5 so that you learn what you make sure that everything is right, and then you scale up. And at first, I did not understand it. But the day that I experienced failure, I was like, I would rather lose 10,000 than to lose 100,000. So we have to really understand that there are so many opportunities, but it's dependent on you, the individual, and your resources. So that's what I'll say.
Yep.
Wow.
I really like what you said about, failure. I know a lot of people that are watching me, we are all Christians and we are all, positive confessing people. And, when we talk about failure in anything, we're talking about the devil, Satan is here, the evil one has emerged, etc. Yes, we get it. Satan is the one that destroys, kills, and do all of that. But one lady called Ariana Huffington said something that I love so much. She said, failure is not the opposite of success, right? So if you think about success, the opposite, if you are not succeeding, that means you're failing now. She said, failure is not the opposite of what success. It is part of success. So that ties it into what Kwesi was saying, that, hey, the learning curve in there, all the lessons, the takeaways, the failure that is in there, they're all part of that journey. And, we got to make room, right? Because we are Christians, we don't make room and we don't expect failure in some of the things that we do. But hey, if you truly want to succeed, right? If you're not looking for overnight, magic, the type of gospel that is being preached to us, type of thing, that overnight type of thing that, money is going to hit your bank account, etc. And you truly believe that, there's process in there, there's work in there, there are lessons along, you will know that failure is indeed not the opposite of what success. It's part of the journey. Kwesi, I want to talk about something. I know we're getting close to our time. We have even exceeded some few minutes, but this conversation is exciting. It's mind-blowing. We're talking about some good stuff here, right? So let's talk about, what specific have you done? Because I know there are a lot of people in the diaspora that are watching, and we know that, absentee ownership, it can, break people's heart, right? You go all the way to Ghana, and then you spend some thousands of dollars in starting something, and then, a year down the line, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, and then you don't get to see anything come out of it. What specific thing, what did you do specifically? And what kind of structures, systems did you put in place so that even if you are back in America, as you're a pharmacist, you come back, you're still working, what have you done so that people can also learn, and put the same structure system in place so that even if they are not there physically, things or the business will still thrive?
I'll say the first thing that I did not do is I did not hire any of my relatives. That was the first thing that I did not do. That is very key. My pastor says this: God gives you family, the devil gives you relatives. It's not everybody who's connected to you by blood that you need to work with. Not everybody has your best interest. So in all honesty, I did not hire any relative whatsoever. Because the one thing about me is that I will fire you in a heartbeat, and your relatives will poison you first. So I made sure that I didn't hire any relatives. But in all seriousness, one of the things that I did was I made sure that I understood the environment where I worked. When I first started farming, I didn't know too much about the environment. So I made sure that I learned about the environment. I also made sure that I actually learned. I tell my manager all the time that when we first started, he would say anything and I would listen to him. But no, these days when he and I are talking, it's not a matter of what you are saying. I actually can have a conversation with him and be like, this is fertilizer application. This is due this time. I never stopped learning because I wanted to know my system so that where there's a breakdown, I will actually know where the breakdown was. I also put certain structures into place. The one thing that I know is that and I know, unfortunately, a lot of Ghanaians. I mean, I grew up in Ghana, so I know what a lot of Ghanaians can try to do. So one of the things that I make sure is that I know that when you are there, the work keeps on going on. But when you are absent, the work is no longer there. So I actually invested in infrastructure. Like literally, as we're speaking right now, my farm people, they are so happy that, oh, I brought internet, and in the area that I farm, there's no light. But on my farm, there's light. And that light cost me a lot of money. But I brought that light for two reasons. Number one, because I wanted to be able to see them. And number two, I also needed it for, the irrigation. But number two, I also made sure that if I need to talk to you or I need to see what you are doing, I can see you. So there are literally times when people are farming, I literally get a weekly schedule of activities that's going on. And I know that this person is supposed to be here this time. I turn on my camera and you're not there. Don't worry, I'm not going to say anything. You're going to hear from me later on. So that's one of the things that I do. So you cannot, I literally put structures in place so that at the end of the day, when I'm not there, the accountability is there. Because the one thing that people like to say about farming is that, oh, there's no money in farming. The truth of the matter is you fail in farming as a result of your system. You fail. Like somebody can come and say, oh, I went into this and I didn't. I actually had somebody came and they told me that they went and they farmed, I think, 15 acres and they got 8 bags of maize. And I was shocked. I was like, 8 bags of maize for an acre or 8 bags of maize for the whole thing? Said the whole thing. I said, Master, they were not going to the farm. So the guy was so bent and all of that stuff. And I was like, they were not going. So I actually knew, I know my system in such a way that when there's a breakdown, I can actually point to where the breakdown is. So the one thing that I would tell you is if you are not learning at all, you are going to fail. If you don't know your system, you are going to fail. And if you put too much trust in a person, you are going to fail because people are human beings. So that's the one thing that I've done that has really helped me. And the other thing that I can say, which is knowing your system and knowing your environment. Me, when I talk to my workers, and I pray to God that none of my workers are here, but my manager said that he might tune in, so I hope he's not. The thing about me is that I can have a conversation with you, and you might think that I'm talking, son, but I'm not going to come and have a conversation with you and always ask you direct questions. I can ask you questions in such a way that I can pinpoint what the problem is. So you will not know that you have given me the problem until because I'm talking to you, thinking you and I are having this whole conversation, but you will not know that I've identified the problem in the conversation. So the thing is that if you set up a good system, if you really set up a good system, then at the end of the day, you will be successful.
Okay.
Wow, that's good.
Definitely great insight there, Kwesi. Definitely great insight there. So, the purpose of all that we're doing is that so that people can get started. So the question that most people have seen it coming from most people, have been getting messages on the side is, land acquisition. Is land really the issue, the problem, or actually we getting in and starting it? And if they talk about land, how did they start it? How, where, who do they have to talk to? If you want to kick us off with this one, and maybe this will come in.
Right, yeah. That was a great presentation from Kwesi. He has given a very practical stuff, and I also want to add my voice to those in diaspora. If you have plans to come here, please, it's important that you, fortunately, Kwesi is here. He has seen it all. So you consult the right people, get the right advice. Don't come out of emotions. Prepare very well. And also have it at the back of your mind that you can lose all that you intend doing. So prepare your heart and your mind. And with that capacity, don't also have that false hope that as soon as you come, things will be so smooth. No, this environment is very tough. It's very tough. You have the shock of your life, very tough. So don't have that false hope. Even if your pastor gives you anointing oil, I'm telling you, when you come, you face the realities. The people, it's sad. I have mentioned that character is critical. To meet the right person with the right character, it is the grace of God. Because most people will talk so nicely with you. I'm narrowing it to the land acquisition. We here, we who are here are not even seeing top when it comes to land acquisition. I'm telling you, you get the land and the wahala you have to go through. But we've over the years gotten experience as to what has to be done. Let me give a good scenario. Together with Sami, we are trying to come up with a system where maybe in our next discussion, it's going to be more practical to help. We want to talk to the chiefs, the landowners, for them to understand the need for this tree crop investment. Normally, you can take advantage of some of them and they will give you a large tract of land, let's say 1,000 acres, at a very minimal cost. Some of them, because they want something to eat, let me use that word, they want to get something that they don't really think about the future. So when you think that you're a good negotiator and you get such a deal, the problem is that the next generation that will come in will fight with you. So normally what I do is that I always want to, when I'm negotiating with them, I want to open their understanding and a kind of thing for them, a win-win situation. Because see, for the tree crops, your benefit is based on the number of years you can get something from the land or whatever you have cultivated. So if you don't think for them and you take advantage of them, years to come, the next generation will come and fight you, and all that you have acquired, they will fight, and you will not enjoy the fruit of your labor. So for land, the first point of call is check your family. Where are you coming from? I hope you are coming from a hometown where we have land. My advice is that we were lied to. I've been telling people that we were told, oh, build house. In fact, it's not true. You don't need to build a house. Especially those in diaspora. Don't let anybody push you to build a house. Because some of you are built here, you are not staying in the house, paying light bill, water bills, and you are not enjoying anything. The plants will not even bring you anything. I want to advise that instead of buying a land for estate, buy a land for farming, like Kwesi has advised, where you can plan for the next 5 years. I know a friend who stays in the US. He has 100 acres of coconut. He comes to Ghana every month and he gets almost $20,000 and goes back. So such a person, if you intend coming to relocate. It's so easy for such a person. So my advice is that please let us make sure that we acquire. But unfortunately, some of us, you need to target the right person, because he has made a very important point that the family members or the relatives, they will talk nicely with you. The moment the money gets to them, it's a different ball game altogether. Seek expert advice. Seek experts advice. Number two, even that expert, make sure you do a background checks on them, because some of them, they have smooth talks. They will be able to speak and then get whatever you're looking for. So please, first of all, look at your hometown, the land. In terms of land acquisition, your hometown is a first call. Family lands, if you have a family land, you can then sit down with them, get lawyer to help you to go through, make sure you have the legal basis, everything that will help you to go through the acquisition process. Please, it's not about land title. If anybody gives you land and so I have a title asks what kind of law, legal court ruling or judgment that pertains to that land. Is very important. If it has not been educated before, then you, as the first person, make sure you go through the process and get the title, everything. But truly, don't just buy land because it has a title. Because some people can get the title. If there's any legal aspect of the land and it's taken to court, that title can be revoked and you will find yourself in the wrong side of your investment. So consult a lawyer, a good lawyer, get to know, just get experts to help you. Don't sit there and buy land. Make sure you get people who can verify for you. Look through, get a good system to help you to get it. But now, and as we're talking, very soon, the next 5 years, land for farming will be so expensive because many people are rushing into it. So those of you who are listening to us, if you have a family land over somewhere, make sure you do the relevant documentation and think of how you're going to use it. If you are related to the chief, you are a royal, go to and see your chief. Educate them not to be selling the land to foreigners, because very soon land for farming is going to be more expensive than land for building a house.
I know there's a competition in there now. We're really competing with the folks going into real estate. Farmlands and real estate is now like competing side by side. Kwesi, let me come to you. We've talked about the type of crops. Talk about tree crops. We talk about land acquisition. Talk about the structures, systems, etc. Let's talk about how much does one need if you're in the diaspora? You want to start something. Do you have to start with a big amount, a small amount? What can one use as a test? You want to test the waters and you want to try something. It's going to be like a litmus test, right? How much does one need to start to go in something like that if they come into Ghana?
I would say that number one, it depends on your project,
right.
And number two, it depends on your risk, and number three, it depends on your income.
You said something that is big too. Risk appetite. What's your risk appetite and your risk, tolerance level?
So like, I like to actually give real life scenarios so that my people know this stuff. So like 2 weeks ago, I got a phone call from a colleague of mine, and he was like, "Oh, you are into farming, so I want to go into farming." And I was running the numbers with him, and I was like, "This doesn't seem like a very good deal." And he had been told, "Oh, by his relatives, oh, this is good, this all that stuff, and all of these things." And I was like, I actually told him, I said, "Mr. Blank, this is not a good deal. This is what I would actually look for if I was to be you." I gave him the same advice that I give to a lot of diasporans, that don't just focus on farming, but focus on the value chain. But I asked him, I said, this money that they're asking you to put aside just to acquire this farm, which the numbers do not work. If you were to lose this money, which at that time was $50,000, would you be okay with it? And he himself knew that it was a very bad deal, and he walked away with it. So I honestly say that it depends on your project, but it depends on your situation. Like me right now, I'm more risk tolerant because I don't have any wife, no children in the next few years, so I can take some risk. But when the wife and the children show up, the risk is like minimal. But I would say that just depending on what project you choose to do and using your resources, a good $3,000 to $5,000 would be okay to start some kind of project.
Right.
So I think a good $3,000 to $5,000, or better yet, when we talk about finances, we talk about I would say don't invest more than 5% of your disposable income. When you're first starting, don't invest more than 5 to 10% of your disposable income based on your risk tolerance. I think that that's a fair, good estimate, because the thing about agriculture is that, there is some risk to it. So that's one thing that I'll say.
Okay, thank you. Guys, I know we've talked about a whole lot. We've unpacked, a whole lot, for you guys tonight. You guys need to go back. Ebenezer has said a lot, Kwesi has also shared a lot, his experience coming from the diaspora, where he started and how far he's gone. I know if I ask him right now, in the next 5 to 10 years, from medium to long term, I mean, he's gonna blast us off, right? There's a lot on his mind. But hey, guys, I know our time is far spent here. We will definitely circle back on this topic. And I know I'm getting a lot of questions, not those just in the diaspora, but even professionals, young graduates, etc., that are in Ghana. We are coming out with something for you guys, and I know it's going to be massive. It's going to be something big. We don't want to spill all the beans out yet, right? But it definitely, though, for those in the diaspora, you don't have to be here present. Have some physical presence before you can get into agribusiness. And so we're coming out with something that anybody, you can get in half an acre. Somebody can get in half 1 acre, 2 acre. It doesn't matter how much, whatever you can afford, right? Anybody. We want everybody to get a piece of this pie, right? We don't want, I have friends over here, friends that are in Ghana, that are Indians, and they are getting to cashew. They get into all these things, right? They came to Ghana and they realize how fertile the land is, and they know that now, whilst they are here, they have to take advantage. And we cannot sit over there on the fence and then watch foreigners, Chinese, etc. Chinese are now recruiting Ghanaians. They're doing mega projects in the hinterlands, in the villages, right? They're doing a lot. And so we want everybody to get a piece of this pie. We'll be rolling out something very soon. Definitely. We will launch it. We'll invite all of you to be a part of that. You don't have to, have $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to get into it. Whatever that you have, you can have own a piece of that pie, and that is something that is coming out, sometime very soon. But hey, guys, Eben and then Kwesi, I want to thank you guys for the depth, and the information, all the things that you guys have shared with us. Hey, guys, and to my audience as well on Facebook, YouTube, etc. I told you guys that generation of doers. It's not just about hearing. It's about, listening in and then being actually a doer. That means execution, taking action. And so, you all belong to some village somewhere. You belong to a town. You belong to somewhere, village tied in somewhere. Go back to your village. Begin to ask around. Eben said it. The first point of call is by asking your fathers, your mothers, aunties, sisters, etc. They will know somebody who can give you a piece of land. We have all these lands over there. They are doing nothing with it, right? They're doing nothing. And if you go back there and you tell them that, hey, this is what I want to do, they will be excited. They will be happy to welcome you in and give you something to do, right?
No,
Guys.
I forgot to tell,
Yeah.
I forgot to say something. I think it's very important.
I was coming to it that, you can go ahead and give your last, closing remark. After that, Eben will also give his last closing remarks here. So go ahead, Kwesi.
Oh, well, in terms of my closing remarks, there are so many opportunities in agriculture. I cannot emphasize that enough. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, we really are the solution to our problems. One of the things that my pastor told me, when he was like, whenever God answers a prayer, he often answers it through a person. And I believe that right now, one of the things that we have to know when it comes to agriculture is that getting into agribusiness is so important. You are an answer to somebody's prayer. You might be the person that is going to help them to get a market. You might be the person that offers them services. You might be the person that, helps to decrease poverty. In my business, what I tell Samuel all the time, what I take pride in is not the money that's in my bank account. What I take pride in is that I have helped to build, I helped to end poverty. Because I tell all of my workers, I say that if you leave my company and you've worked for at least 5 years and you are broke, you did not work. Because I give enough incentives to all of my workers that they can be successful. So guys, please get involved in the agribusiness sector. And if you are a youth under the age of 35 or younger, this is one of the incentives that is out there to a lot of the youth. Please make sure that you register with the National Youth Employment Program in Ghana, because actually, if you are a youth and you're under the age of 35, they do offer you tax exemption for the first 5 years of business. So if you're 35 years or younger, and that's I hope that we do have 35 years or younger people, this tax benefit to you, cannot emphasize it enough. Please find a way to get involved in the sector and take advantage of everything that's available to you. That's all I can say.
Great. Where there is problem, there is money. Therefore, I want you to understand that if we hear that we import X amount of food in the country, don't just throw your hands in the air. Ask yourself, how can I stop this? And that's an opportunity for you right there. I've mentioned that within the tree crops, the policy under the Tree Crops Development Authority, in the next 5 to 7 years, government wants to rake in $12 billion. And the question is, what percentage do you want to get from this? And that decision starts from now. So therefore, if you are in Accra, go back to your hometown. Look at the environment. Take advantage of the environment. Don't let. So this the sad thing that some of you have cocoa farms and you have caretakers who are creating the impression that there's nothing good in it. When you travel from Accra and you go to the village, you see the way they have dressed. You think that you are from town, so you are better off than them. Normally, they dress in such a way to discourage you from coming back to the village to see whatever they are getting over there. So I want you to know that the money is now in the village. So please go back and take advantage. I have said that knowledge, character, and the environment are the key for us to make it. And the future is in agriculture. In fact, truly, agric is not job, it's work. Jobs will collapse because artificial intelligence are doing better than what man can do. But when it comes to job that God has given to us, which is related to the land, it will be there forever. So we want to encourage you that take advantage of such opportunities available. The future is bright for you in the country. Agree? The land is good. Everywhere you grow something, you get it. In fact, even previously we thought that coconut can be grown in the central region and in the western, but it has been shown that we can even grow coconut in everywhere in the country. Just a limited place that you cannot grow. So therefore, let us even cashew can be grown in the north. Previously, we thought that it was just shea butter that you can grow there, but cashew too can be grown in the north. So where there's money and where there's problem, there's money. Let's change our mindset and take advantage of the opportunities as generation of doers. Let's begin to do something. God bless you.
All right. So thank you, Eben. Thank you, Kwesi. Say, as generation of doers, right? Our duty is to do. We all Christians, a lot of Christians here, we go to church, say, we pray that we'll be doers of the word. It's not just in the reciting of the doers of the word and doers of the word, that's scripture, but it's actually about taking action and actually doing it. Guys, I always say this, we are here not just to exist and then just, vanish and nobody will recognize whether we came or we existed. We are here primarily to serve ourselves and also unlock gratitude, for the next family, the generations unborn, those that'll come after them. That is what we are here for, to unlock gratitude that, hey, some people came, and when they came, this is what they did. They actually, worked on this, right? America is great. And now we all go to America, we are all excited. Why? Because 400 years ago, some people have to sacrifice. 300 years ago, 200 years ago, right? So, the wheels has always been in motion, in traction, right? We also got to do the same thing. I've been saying this quite recently that don't complain, contribute, right? Wherever that you find yourself, don't complain. Do what? Contribute. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we've shared enough. Let's go ahead, begin to ask questions, go and get a piece of plot, a piece of land, snails, whatever that you can do, right? Do it. If you want the contact for Ebenezer, if you want the contact for Kwesi, be sure to get with me. Of course, I will share their contact details with you. You can get with them if you want any advisory on anything you want to start on. Please do get with me, and for sure, I will do my best to make sure that you are in touch with them. Thank you guys for tuning in, and hopefully our next webinar is even going to be another big one as well. Don't forget to subscribe to our Facebook page and make sure that you stay always updated to what is prevailing or what is current, right? All right. Thank you guys. We're signing out here.